Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Horror Movie Night. This week we are talking about Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which Scott and I have talked about in the past on the Reddit Horror Club, but it felt like it was time that we gift this conversation to you guys on the Horror Movie Night
No,
feed.
this gift is truly for us.
Yeah, this is, I mean, there's been a lot over the last couple months of just trash that we've watched and sacrificed our eyes to. So I welcomed this with open arms, fully embracing. Brian.
Yeah.
What did you think of the movie?
I don't think it's a very good movie.
It's not a good movie. It's an awesome movie.
I think we get it. You're a hussy. Let's move on. I didn't have that much fun. I'm not going to lie.
This isn't your first watch.
No.
So what's your problem?
I don't know, man. I liked it as a kid. It was dumb. There was a few dumb things that made me laugh. And it wasn't painful to watch. It just wasn't a good movie. I didn't find it that funny. And the things that I did find funny, I shouldn't have found funny. Like when she said, pretty much tells high schoolers she's going to kill herself. And says, if they ask what to remember me by, just tell them these two simple words. I don't care what they are. Just make sure they're simple.
That's a fucking great line, dude.
I said that's what made me laugh.
Yeah, so you're basically saying this movie is entertainment. That's all that I need to know.
Yeah.
So you can drop off the call now, and then Matt and I can just have a good time.
This is some fun facts real quick. We'll knock these out real quickly and then we'll talk about it. But I'm scrolling through the IMDb trivia, which, as we know, is sometimes a wasteland. But a few things that jumped out at me that are interesting fun facts. Number one, in 1986 and 1987, Marvel Comics released a magazine-sized comic book adaptation of the film.
Huh. Good on you, Marvel.
Another one is after Cassandra Peterson made a small cameo role in Pee-wee's Big Adventure, her good friend Paul Reubens wanted to return the favor, but unfortunately his film Big Top Pee-wee was filming the same time as hers. So I'm curious who Pee-wee would have played in this movie. She also, because of Paul Reubens, wanted Tim Burton to direct the movie, but he was in the middle of making Beetlejuice at the time. And then this one just caught me off guard. This is RuPaul's favorite movie.
Oh,
Ru. I appreciate that.
43 out of 52 people found that interesting.
Lots of Drag Race lovers that are checking the IMDb trivia page.
Yeah, and I kind of get what Brian's saying. I love this movie. I really love this movie. But I love the movie so much that I actually forgot to write notes for larger portions of it because I just kept getting sucked into it.
I didn't fucking have to write notes. I've seen this movie 60 times at least.
But I think that this movie's not a movie trying to be a movie. It's
just a joke. It's just jokes, man. It's
fun. Just set up for gags. And that's the thing is people forget that Cassandra Peterson and Paul Reubens are friends because they both went to the same sketch comedy.
The Groundlings.
Yeah, they were part of the Groundlings. So it makes a ton of sense. It's weird because people don't think of it in this same way, but you have to look at stuff like Elvira and Pee-wee's Big Adventure in the same lens that you look at something like A Wet Hot American Summer, where it's not a parody film and it's not a sketch film in the way that you think of Kentucky Fried Movie or these films where it's literally sketch, but in the sense of it's a feature film that's written with the brain of these are just bits to get us through the storyline.
Yeah, and to show off the character.
Yeah, and I think it's great for that. I think there's so many, I love that it starts with the old film stock playing the, I believe the movie it's not A Thing from Another World, but it's a similar title to that. I think It Conquered the Earth or something like that.
I was going to ask you that because I wasn't sure if it...
That's a real movie, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. It looked kind of well done. It looked like someone was trying to make it look like a 50s movie, but looked like it was later on. So I guess good on them.
The funny thing, so I haven't really watched this with a true lens ever. I wouldn't say that I did that this time either, but I did notice some fun shit. In her dressing room in that scene, the Monster on the Campus poster that's behind her, which I didn't realize this, but fucking 5-6 years ago, I used that for the first Survivor Girl album's release show, I changed the poster, actual writing on it, to be the, like the poster for the show. But I thought that was a fun little thing that was, I guess, somewhere back in my subconscious that I didn't know about.
Well, and Brian, to answer your question, the movie was called It Conquered the World.
But apparently it didn't.
Yeah, well, I will say, if you want to pick a 50s black and white movie, it's only an hour and 10 minutes. So
you're speaking my language.
Well, I already know my double feature for that episode.
You start off with It Conquered the World, and it's exactly the type of stuff that Elvira was playing on her show. It literally just picks up where her TV show left off. And then you've got this whole weird scene where she's
Latest
driving.
Back home called me Longhorn. You're missing that part. Yeah. You said she was a nympho. But here's the best part about that is that, so Elvira, she started in the Groundlings in LA, but she was also really big in the gay scene culture of the 70s, is really what, and the punk rock scene really formed what she looked like and informed what she looked like and her kind of her attitude. And
well, that's the thing, because she's basically she's a Valley Girl horror icon.
She's a Valley Girl vampira,
Yeah.
But I love the fact that gay man, maybe a drag queen, I can't remember. And Megan and I were looking like last night to see if there's anything on her Wikipedia. I've read about it, but I could not find the name or all the specific information. But the man that designed Elvira, basically, because Cassandra Peterson had a nucleus of the character, and then she had this friend of hers turn it into a full-fledged act or visual representation. And I love that because Elvira is so so Cassandra Peterson was nude in Hustler way before Elvira came out. So she owns her sexuality, and that guy is like, I thought she was an info. She's like, I don't have to take this from any of you. I love that about Elvira as a character. And I never quite understood that as a child when I was watching this. I was like, she's fucking hilarious. I didn't say fucking because I was a kid. But
God, I think I found what you were looking for, by the way. It said on our wiki, it says producers left it up for her to create the role's image. Her and her best friend, Robert Redding, came up with a sexy punk vampire look after producers rejected her original idea to look like Sharon Tate's character in the Fearless Vampire Killers.
Yep. It was that guy's name that we were looking for, but I did know that she wanted to originally look like Sharon Tate. But that's part of her humor. But I love that Elvira is challenging the people around her to stare at her boobs, but she's also not letting you see her as a sexy thing. It's just, she's very, very, I love that. It's very
feminist. It's this very, I like that she has this aspect of I'm proud of my body, but just because I'm showing off my body does not give anybody the right to touch me without my consent. And to think about that conversation in 1987 is very progressive, and sadly a conversation that still needs to happen in 2020, but it's dope that even back then there were people that were riding hard on that. I'm going to jump ahead just because it's the line that Scott and I probably quote more than anything. It is my favorite line in the whole movie, and it's the one dorky thug type character sitting at the bowling alley reading a Spider-Man comic, and he goes, "Oh, well, I'm sure they must think we're real idiots or something. This is going to hurt Spider-Man. He's got radioactive blood." And Scott and I have had those conversations about movies in the past. So if there was ever a character that represented horror movie night as a whole, it's that guy bitching about the logic.
Oh, damn it.
We get this scene where she finds out that one of her relatives have died and she has to go to the will reading. And just the scene of her driving to the town has 4 or 5 different dark humor gags, be it her you forgot
the hatchet or whatever.
Yeah, her picking up a hitchhiker who's clearly a serial killer and then throwing his hatchet at him and killing him, or stopping at a gas station and warning the guy that smoking will kill him, and then the whole gas station explodes in the rear view as she drives away. It's just filled with all these quick zingers. And I don't I know this is one of Scott's favorite movies. I don't think that this is better at doing This and Pee-wee's Big Adventure are very similar movies in what they're trying to do. I think that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is a better film all round.
Damn right it is.
I also think that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is more of a horror film than this is, because that movie scarred the shit out of me.
And that's what I mean. It is a very scarring movie, and it's similar to what I always say. Like, Pee-wee's Big Adventure is the exact same thing that I'd say about watching like Clerks and Mallrats. Is like, it doesn't matter how far Kevin Smith has come from the person that I've loved Kevin Smith. It's crazy watching those early movies for Kevin Smith, Clerks and Mallrats, for Tim Burton, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and Beetlejuice, and just seeing the little pieces of what would become like the thing that they do all the time, but seeing it when it was still like they weren't confident in it enough to go all out. So it'd just be like these little peppered in things, or be like, maybe for just this one nightmare scene, we'll do like some wacky, German expressionism sets. And then it's like 20 years later, it's like, German expressionism everywhere!
That's what it sounds like when he talks.
So, like, I love watching, like, Pee-wee's Big Adventure for that. And I think that that's one of the downsides with Elvira, is that, as far as I know, it's not a director that, like, really left a huge stamp. So, like, there's not... It feels like a good movie, but doesn't feel like a movie that has this, like, other aspect going into it that Pee-wee's Big Adventure has, where it's like, no, it's not just a Pee-wee Herman movie, but you're also seeing, like, what would become a Tim Burton movie. And looking at this dude's filmography, it looks like he just exclusively directed sketch stuff. Everything on his directed list is like the best of Phil Hartman, SNL, the Bad Boys of SNL, the best of Mike Myers. Like, he just got pulled. Oh, and he directed the second Police Academy movie.
Is that the one where they introduced the robot talking guy?
No, he's there from day one. Ugh. But he was the movie that just birthed so many horror movie night films. He was the cameraman on Phantom of the Paradise.
Nice. Too bad that he didn't get to ride that Brian De Palma train.
Yeah, it says, well, let me correct that. Special photography for wedding scene. So I guess he shot the last, like he helped with the filming of that big crazy wedding scene at the end of the movie.
Yeah, so you don't get to ride the Brian De Palma train there.
No. You showed up and worked a day or two. Yeah. Brian De Palma doesn't know who the fuck you are. He's not going to cast you as Carrie. But there's like, most of my notes are just quotes from the movie, which is fun. Yeah. One of the lines that is so stupid but made me laugh way too loud is when she gets into a fight and yells,
"I cut you, man!"
Because it's so random. Like, it has no place in the movie. And it makes me laugh because it's so random. And then, we've talked about the sexual innuendo of just like her talking to all the teenagers and being like, well, just grab a tool and start banging.
Yeah. But it's also funny because she says that shit.
She's oblivious. Yeah, she's like super oblivious to the fact that she's a sex symbol, which is just another layer.
It. Doesn't that bother anyone? Am I the only one that's bothered by how contradicting she is? Like, that's the thing, is like,
I think that this is Brian's problem, though.
Yeah.
No, Brian, your problem is because women are confusing enough already that you don't need another one.
Yeah.
They're like, all these mixed signals.
Yeah. First she says no, then she says no, thank you. Sorry, take that
out. Some great songs in the movie, too.
Can we talk about one song that really kicks off the great songs? That chicken fried steak song at the gas station. Chicken fried steak, peas and corn and chicken fried steak. I don't know. It's basically like, I didn't look at the song credits, but I would be damned if that's not a Reverend Horton Heat song.
I think that it's just some random ass novelty 50s song in the same vein as Bread and Butter, which I forgot about until the other day. And man, what a song.
I don't know that song, and I don't care.
Oh, you know it. I like bread and butter.
Oh, God, fuck you. God damn it.
This song has it's got a version of I Put a Spell on You, which, as I've said, I've literally loved every version that I've heard. Not the best one, but it's a version. But it also has what I think is a very underrated 50s song that was getting a lot of play at this time, because it appeared in this and Hairspray and a few other movies. But Town Without Pity is such a good song.
Oh yeah, dude.
That song should have been on your Lady Killers EP, honestly. I would have listened to the shit out of you covering that.
Well, I guess I got to do a 50s cover album now. Yeah, fucking dude, I'm writing that down.
And I love it in this movie where it's like her just desperately trying to get a job, and it leads into
oh my god, I know. Look, I'm in show business. I know that you spelled matinee wrong, and then it's like it says how to fuck. Like,
yeah, it's supposed to say how to duck call. Brian and I probably have a similar origin story of seeing this movie, because this was like our Uncle Craig. We've talked about Uncle Craig a bunch.
Mustache Uncle.
Our Uncle Craig loved Elvira. And when I say like loved Elvira, he had both Elvira pinball machines in his house, and we played them constantly. But we would like, this was like one of those movies that I remember putting on all the time in the basement. It must have been like the 50th time watching that movie when I finally got the how to fuck joke.
That joke
I was
is
like,
so funny.
dude, I was like
That made
8
me
the
laugh.
first time I saw it. Yeah. Oh, it's so, especially like the secretary from Ferris Bueller Day Off's reaction to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Chastity
that's
Pariah.
This movie has been on such a pedestal for so long for me, and I haven't seen it. Like, the last time I saw it doesn't count because I slept in my car for 2 hours and then came to Scott's house.
Yeah.
And that was like the last time I really saw it. I didn't pay attention to most things. Funny, not to get sidetracked, but I did come across, I guess we had our anniversary of that night, so I came across it on my time hop. And it was like the list of movies we were watching. And I was like, man, I don't remember watching any of these.
I mean, because to be fair, at one point, I'm pretty sure that we went out and did a photo shoot while Event Horizon was playing. And people just looked at an empty couch.
Yeah. And I went to lunch and I took a nap.
Yeah.
It's funny because you like had lunch and then went to lunch. And I was like, man, that dude likes to eat.
And then you met him again and you're like, oh yeah, no, he definitely likes it.
Yeah.
No, well, and like, here's the thing that I want to really make sure that we do is, of all the times that we've done the live stream, easily all of us being in the same room was the most fun. It was the most goofy, and like having like the revolving door of people. So like my dream is that by the next big anniversary for us, for our like 300th episode, which I can't believe that we've done a podcast where that's like not an unreasonable statement. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, we're already at like 265 right now, so why not just go up to at least 300? By then, I hope that I have my own place. We can like hang out for the weekend and just have like a revolving door of like the Jersey Ghouls popping in and like Kyle coming down from Connecticut, and just like have as big of a Beats Creeps live stream as we can for a day. Like, because I think that would be fun. And also having extra people would allow for people to like go and lay down for a little bit. Like, it's not just hinging on 3 people on webcams keeping the energy up for 12 hours. Hey,
Brian, you got about 40 episodes to figure out an excuse.
Matt's got about 40 episodes to move out, and if that happens, I will
commit. Son of a bitch.
Mark my words.
That was good.
He got me. Son of a bitch. We got to, okay, so the how to fuck scene leads into Elvira getting the idea that she can help save the movie theater by doing what she used to do on her TV show at the theater. And she's so, like Brian and Scott have both said in different ways, she's so out of the loop and stupid about things.
She's not, dude.
But like, she's like walking around and she's like trying to tell kids about the movie, and she's like, and this movie's like bad. And I don't mean like, ooh yeah, I'm bad. like that doesn't.
She does the Michael Jackson reference. Yeah, that she's dumb in aspect. It's the I think that's what confuses me about her, is like sometimes she's like, okay, she has no idea how many sexual innuendos she's saying. And then she's
other
trying to
times
sell her house.
Doing
she's
them.
like, I'll bend over backwards. I'll bend over forwards. Or I've never turned down a friend.
Or a stranger for that matter.
Or, yeah, you know, she's a hussy. She's not oblivious.
How dare you? How dare you?
Listen, I have met her. I got to put my arm around her waist. She is a fucking
She is a
legend
gem.
and a gem. She's an uncut gem.
I don't know
because
why
she
a
makes me
gem
tense as
just
fuck.
feels like such an insult to me.
It's
Like, I
like-
know that it's a compliment, but it sounds so sarcastic whenever anybody, but specifically
Oh, it's
Brian
like the
says
fucking. It's the bless your heart of Pennsylvania,
it.
apparently.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
You are a gem, Matt, and I meant that.
But yeah, so she brings them all in to watch future horror movie night pick when we really run out of ideas. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, which is just, I went through such a, man, this movie sucks, into, wow, I really do love Attack of the Killer Tomatoes over the last decade. They show some of the highlights of that movie, specifically what is clearly giant paper mache tomatoes sitting on carts and just being
Yeah.
pushed at people.
You know, I think I just realized something about my life that I never quite pieced together. So, there was an Attack of the Killer Tomatoes TV cartoon, right?
Yes.
It's so wild that there were these trauma cartoons, right?
Yeah.
Like that and Toxic Crusaders.
Well, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes is not trauma. It's worth noting on that.
Oh, that's why I asked you that. Matt, now I feel stupid because I was asking it in such a way because I was saying, is it a trauma flick?
It is not. It is not. It is one of those weird, but it was like a weird thing for them to make a 90s cartoon out of, or a late 80s cartoon out of, because Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was 1977. And then they did a sequel in like the mid 80s
The sequel was probably the reason why they had the cartoon, right?
Well, but it wasn't a popular sequel. So here's the thing with the sequel. It is absolutely what inspired the cartoon. In the sequel, Return of the Killer Tomatoes, which stars George Clooney, back when he was doing whatever the fuck he would do to get money, that introduces all of the elements that pop up in the cartoon. So like a tomato that can be a woman, but if you get it wet, it turns into a tomato again. Or like a weird fuzzy tomato that they call FT that like talks, that is like the friendly tomato that helps them fight all the other tomatoes, or like the idea that these tomatoes can actually talk and have like their own language that can be learned. All that became pieces of the animated show that aren't in the first movie. The first movie is literally just
Jaws with tomatoes.
Well, they're trying to do Airplane. It's in like a similar vein of like an Airplane movie where it's bad, but like aware that it's bad.
So I just got distracted.
Before you distract me, I need to get this poop out of my mind. So I was thinking about like, okay, I saw Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. I believe that my dad's mom, so my grandmother, my paternal grandmother, had taped this recordable VHS tapes that I think I still have at my house, at my parents' house. Like it's probably buried somewhere, like the original Elvira that I watched. I was obsessed with the idea of the Killer Tomatoes for 1 year, to the point where I dressed up as one for Halloween. And all that was me in a red Fruit of the Loom sweat suit, like sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and then red makeup on my face and red in my hair. And I walked around getting candy, telling people that I was a killer tomato. I wonder if the nucleus of that idea was because of watching Elvira.
It's very possible.
Do you guys remember Little Shop? Because I'm too young to remember it.
No, there was a Little Shop of Horrors animated series though.
Because the animation looks so great. Because when Scott brought up Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, I just got distracted and I was seeing all the TV shows based off of weird horror movies like Starship Troopers.
What?
It looks
Yeah.
a little bit later, but so I wanted to know if you watched Little Shop, and then I guess this never came in, like actually made it to TV, but they made an Aliens cartoon, and the picture of it looks awesome. It looks like everything I'd want.
The Aliens cartoon was why there was Aliens action figures. That was actually supposed to be a tie-in to a Saturday morning kids cartoon that never happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Brian, I think I just remembered the first time you and I ever knew of Elvira. Do you remember, and you may have been really young for this, but
we're being babysat at Uncle Craig's. That's the first time I remember watching it.
So that was the first time I watched it, but I remember the first time I heard of it was that Mom taped Young Frankenstein off of TV for us. And we had the VHS tape of Young Frankenstein with all the commercials. And there was an advertisement for, I guess, like the following week they were going to show Elvira. And I was like, what is this? Because it just showed like the monster in the pot.
The casserole. Yeah.
The casserole monster. And I remember her looking at the camera and being like, looks like Gumby on steroids, which is like early on in the movie. But I was like, what is this? And it also showed her breaking the chains with her boobs. Those are like the 3 scenes that they showed in this TV advertisement for Elvira. It was like a 20-second ad. And I think that shortly thereafter is when Uncle Craig got like the pinball machine. I was like, oh, what is this Elvira thing? Yeah, man, there's some weird ass cartoons that were made for kids. So she does the Killer Tomatoes presentation, but the part that had me laughing the hardest, and I even was talking to Brian on the phone of like, this is such a Brian Kelly joke, is her doing the Flashdance backflips where it just keeps cutting to her head upside down with the big goofy smile on to make it appear like she's doing the backflips.
So fucking funny.
Oh my God. I could watch like, you know how they do those 10-hour loops? Like if someone did a 10-hour loop of that, I think I'd find it funny for at least 30 or 40 minutes before I'd be like, all right, Matt, it's time to move on.
We've been in quarantine for too fucking long, my friend.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But yeah, the highlight of this movie is always going to be that casserole monster. That thing is a fucking thing of beauty.
If I had free time right now, I would try to make a puppet, like to mold that into like that as a puppet, because I love that prop so much.
How dope would that be to have it like a Monster Mania or something at our table?
Yeah.
I
would love to have that.
And like when people open up the lid, we'll just pop it like Oh my God.
This movie has everything that I could ever want. It has a beautiful woman with dark hair and blue eyes. It has a monster, and then it also has a lot of humor.
And boobs.
It basically, well, I'm trying to be like respectful here because Elvira doesn't give a fuck if you think that she's sexy. She wants you to think that she's funny and respect her for her humor, which I'm doing.
Fair enough. I appreciate that. I was just talking about things that Scott loves, not necessarily what this movie is. Backtrack. Another part that I actually forgot about and got a good chuckle out of me is towards the end of the movie where she goes to shoot magic out of her ring and it just floats directly off of her finger onto her uncle's finger.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, but man, when her uncle is like, he's kind of zombified and he's got, after she puts her heel into his forehead, that scared the piss out of me as a child. Like that was more traumatizing and more Pee-wee's Big Adventure in my nostalgia for the movie, or like, you know, memory of this movie, than the casserole monster. And I don't understand why.
Yeah, I mean, because I think the casserole monster, like, it's cool looking, but like, let's be honest, it's not that far off from something that you would have seen in Labyrinth. But like, seeing a dude with a shoe in his head is like a whole other circumstance. But she gets the money that she wants. She gets to put on her big Las Vegas show.
I always turn it off at that part. I don't really watch the striptease at the end. No,
you don't stick around for the monster for her rap.
Oh yeah, there's the fucking rap. That's what's just so funny is that like I've always hated the end of this movie. I mean, and it's not because I don't love Elvira and not because I don't love this movie, but rather because it's like anticlimactic. Even as a child, I was like, you know, even it's for lack of a better word, titillating, and that's the point. But at the same time, like, this doesn't do anything for me. It never did.
Don't mind me. I'm trying to find the lyrics to the rap.
Please don't.
I'm back in black, so you better stay back. You might get motion sickness or a heart attack. I can really rap up with swelling in your pocket. Make your eyeballs drop right out your socket. I'm rough, I'm tough, I'm woman enough, so get ready. I'm gonna do my stuff. I can take it, I can shake it, I can cook it, I can bake it. If I don't have a recipe, I'll fake it. I'm a volcano that's ready to blow. Look out, y'all, because here I go. Beautiful.
You know, I like the part where I asked you not to, and you completely ignored my request. Like, this is my pick.
It's not all about you, Scott. It's for what the people demand.
It is. When it's my pick.
The crowd's saying, Matt, read the rap.
Just
and
like
I said, I hear you, Tom. I'll do it.
You're singing The Town Without Pity. Like, You're taking all the things that I ask you not to do and you're doing them.
I'm sorry. All right, Scott, what's your double feature?
The Monster Squad. Were they the same year? They might have been the same year.
Same year. The casserole monster kind of looks like the Gill Man. Yeah, no, I think that's a good double feature. How about you, Brian? How about you? What would you
you go first. You go first. I have to stew on it, and I like to piggyback off you two to make my decision.
So this is a movie about a woman who comes to a very conservative town and makes them, through her presence, open up to new ideas. So I'm going to watch Footloose after I watch Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
You just needed an excuse to watch fucking Footloose, dude.
God, I love Footloose so much.
I mean, I love Footloose too. Don't get me wrong, but that's a weird double feature. That's just a weird flex.
What a soundtrack. Beat by beat, it hits the movie. Elvira does a flash dance scene, and Kevin Bacon angrily dances in a warehouse.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I truly get it.
There was a deleted scene in Footloose where Kevin Bacon rapped at the end of the movie, and they're like, let's cut that. And, in this movie, they forgot to cut that.
Are you serious?
According to the commentary track, yes. But it led to when they cut it, so originally there was a actual musical number rap sequence when they're setting up for the dance.
Fucking why?
And someone's like, this movie doesn't have musical numbers. Like, it has music in it. We should just do a montage scene. And that led to Kenny Loggins. They had to call up Kenny Loggins and was like, we need you to write a song like real fast. And he wrote what I think is the best song on the soundtrack, I'm Free, Heaven Help Us, which is like such a fucking jam. It's not Footloose. That's the song everyone remembers, but it's a good ass song. And that became the montage song. All right, Brian, how about you?
I'm just going to go Beetlejuice.
All right, there we go. All that time, all that waiting, just Beetlejuice. Oh, no!
Hey, how you doing?
We'll be back to this week's episode, but first let's talk about our sponsor this week, Best Fiends. Summertime is winding down, and I cannot wait for the winter to come and get rid of the slugs that have been crawling all over my pavement and lawn. Frankly, I hate slugs, and that's why I enjoy the relaxing puzzle game that is Best Fiends. In Best Fiends, you can build a squad of 5 charming bugs with special sets of skills and have them eradicate the slugs by the dozen. It's the perfect game to play against friends, or to pass your workday, or to play when you're recording a particularly boring podcast. Not talking about this one, maybe, probably, definitely am, but don't just take my word for it. Engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. Trust me, with over 100 million downloads, this 5-star rated mobile puzzle game is a must play. Download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. And now, back to the show. All right, so Scott, what is something that you watch that you want to give the old thumbs up to?
So I watched not one, but 2 horror docs. Scream Queen, My Nightmare on Elm Street, the Mark Patton story, is on Shudder, and I finally got around to watching it, and I loved it. I guess it's a good documentary because it is kind of an unflinching look at an imperfect person. Mark Patton is a sad man, and I like the fact that they didn't focus too much on dramatizing or not injecting more like sadness into his fall, and more just kind of like talking about it logically, chronologically, and there are some things that they kind of stepped back from, which I kind of wish that they hadn't. Like, did I catch that he is HIV positive and is on medication for it?
I assume that that's the case because his boyfriend was HIV positive,
right? But
leads to at least the speculation that without saying it, that there's a good chance he could have contracted it as well.
So is it confirmed that he?
No. And I'm not trying to speculate. I'm not trying to make any rumors. I think that it's a great film, and I really enjoyed watching it. It then got me to finally break down and watch Horror Noir. Because that's also on Shudder, and that was phenomenal. Really, really great representation for that as well. It kind of touched on a lot of the reason I didn't get to it until now was because I didn't really feel the desire to take in any discussions about blaxploitation, because I don't have an opinion about it. I just have never wanted to watch any, because I don't really like exploitation in general, and blaxploitation always felt very like uneven and inappropriate in general, even though it was like a type of representation. It also felt like weirdly voyeuristic and fetishizing. And I mean, they talk about that. So really great. I was very surprised to hear some of the things about Candyman in it. You guys have both watched it, right?
I haven't yet. It's very high on my to watch list though.
Okay. I mean, it's really good.
Yeah, and that's what I imagine. It's one of those things where I'm like, I know that it's going to be great, and I'm looking forward to the day that I sit down and watch it, but I want to watch it when I can like really take it all in. I don't want it to be like background noise while I'm working. I don't want it to be something that I put on in between like doing movies for the podcast. So like now that, listeners don't really need to know this much, but we're taking a little bit of a break recording because we've been just back cataloging like crazy during pandemic. So when we come back to recording, I'll probably have seen it by then because I won't have all the other stuff.
Yeah.
I watched a very, very weird cartoon that's on Netflix called The Wilbys. Have either of you watched this yet?
No, but you haven't watched Upload, you prick. But anyway, go on.
I didn't. So I was going to give the floor to you for Upload.
No, I got something
else. So it's based on a book by the person who wrote The Giver, but it's very different. Yeah, it's very different in like every style imaginable. So it's Will Forte, Maya Rudolph, Terry Crews, Martin Short, Jane Karatsky, and Ricky Gervais. And it's this weird, I thought for sure it had to be like a Tim Burton movie, but it's not. And it's this weird, like pseudo claymation CGI style. And it's about a group of 4 kids whose parents are just like the biggest, douchiest pieces of crap. And they discover the concept of orphans and adoption and are like, well, if our parents die, then we can go to a better family.
Wow.
And they get their parents as a wedding anniversary gift tickets to this like death trap world tour type situation and just patiently hope that their parents die and they can be like adopted into a better family. But it's just really goofy and weird and like it's super dark, but it's very funny and it's everything that you would like want in a kids movie that is also entertaining for adults. So I highly recommend giving it a shot. It's good shit. Will Forte is so good as a voice actor.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Brian, so I know we failed you. I will try to watch Upload before we record our next episode. I've got 2 months, so there's a good chance that that'll actually happen. But what's something else you want to talk about?
So I watched two docuseries. One was a 2-parter. The other was a 4-parter, all about the same thing. It was a Jeffrey Epstein week.
Oh yeah,
Oof. but the one on ID was the first one I watched. It was okay. It was very like forensic file-ish. But the one on fucking Netflix is so good. Literally, I would say at a minimum, 80% of the people that are being interviewed are survivors, and very minimal interviews with anyone else. And one of the things about that case that I didn't know that I thought was like super cool and not common was obviously Jeffrey Epstein died in jail. We'll leave it at that, right? No one knows what happened. He died in jail.
He didn't kill himself, though.
He definitely did not. But anyway, so his attorneys, when someone dies, you can't try them. So his attorneys are like, let's drop the case. And the judge said no and had all the victims take the stand, share their story, and then drop the case because he didn't want to take away their right to say what happened, which is not common practice, which is super fucking cool. And by doing that, they all, for the most part, a lot of them became close and stuff. And, they shared this common thing. And it's all because they met in that courthouse on that day after he died.
What's it called?
Filthy Rich.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty new. I mean, at the time that we're recording this, if you haven't
old.
Yet.
When it comes out, it's old.
Yeah, when it comes out, it's like 2 months old. Also, at the time that we're recording this, the new season of Queer Eye just came out. Highly recommend it. All takes place in Philadelphia. Good shit. If you need something to lift your spirits after the depression that Jeffrey Epstein documentary will induce in you, watch 5 really great human beings make people not hate their lives. All right, guys, we did it. I mean, for the listeners, they're just going to hear another episode next week. But for us, we're getting a very well-deserved break from watching trash movies. And
except for this one wasn't trash.
Except for this one. No, this was fantastic. Don't listen to Brian. But we will be back next week with another episode of Horror Movie Night. Scott may have thought that Attack of the Killer Tomatoes was a trauma movie. It isn't, but I did pick a trauma movie for next week. So strap in for that, and we will be back with another episode of Horror Movie Night.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.